Crucible Arms here. Thanks for joining us today. The Walther P38. Little piece of German history here. They were first produced for the Nazis, or I should say probably for the Wehrmacht. In 1938 was when the design happened. 1939 they went through their test phases, and they actually went into mass production in 1940. So this particular one here is not of any significant value in terms of dollars, and I'll tell you why. This is a re-armored version, so this one actually was captured by the Russians during World War II. Taken apart, there are force match parts on here, so it's not a numbers gun. And then they were packed in cosmoline and put away for World War III, which never happened. So they've been released over the years for people like you and me to be able to purchase them. It was produced by 3 different manufacturers. It was produced by Walther, it was produced by Mauser, and it was also produced by Spreework. And those were the 3 producers of this pistol during World War II. It was designed to replace the Luger design P08, a very collectible pistol, also a very cool pistol with a unique action. Unfortunately, it was also extraordinarily unreliable. So the Germans wanted a replacement for the P08 for their regular service pistol, and this is what they came up with. There were 323,000 of these designed during World War II. It is a piece of history, and we'll talk about what was done to it and what hasn't been done to it, what's original about it. That's why I purchased it, but it's certainly not a collectible. It's not an original P38 with all the matching numbers that was never imported, that actually was brought back through the service or something along those lines. So not collectible in that regard at all. So let's talk about the markings on this particular pistol. What you'll see and what you'll notice right off the bat, there is a serial number for the slide. You'll see that there was a serial number here on the frame, but that it's been X'd through. And that's to show that it's not the original frame slide combination. What you will see is when I turn the pistol over, you will see the last 4 digits of the new serial number have been stamped onto the frame so that it matches in that regard. But again, this was added after it was re-armored. There's also another, we can show it to you later, on the falling block. There is a serial number on there that does match the rest of the pistol, does match the slide. The other thing that you'll find of interest is here are the original German markings that are on here, and these are, you can recognize the eagle over the top of the inspection marking here. There's actually 2 sets of inspection markings here, and then there's also the Wehrmacht marking showing it as an original, obviously an original German pistol. The machining is pretty rough on it overall, especially by today's standards. Some of the additional things that are unique about this particular pistol is if you look at the markings here, you will see the BYF44. And what that indicates is that this particular pistol, this slide at any rate, knowing that the frame doesn't match, was produced in the Mauser factory in 1944. And the last marking I'll show you here, these are the import markings that indicate obviously that it didn't come back through the war. It was imported afterwards, after the Russians decided to release them and sell them. So let's talk about this design. Pretty innovative for its era. Again, it was designed in 1938. It was produced all the way up through 1963. First off, it was the original double single action pistol lock breech design. There had been some blowbacks, but this one has the double followed by the single action pull. First one in a lock breech design that had that. Some of the other things that are unique about this pistol is it utilizes a falling block locking mechanism, we'll show you that a little later, which allows the barrel to stay in a straight line parallel configuration, so there's no tilting to it at all, which helped with its accuracy. Also, you'll see it's got an open slide type of design, which helps take some of the weight out of the pistol. It also has Bakelite grips, and Bakelite was one of the very first commercially used plastics ever in any type of design. So while by this point the Germans were primarily a mechanized infantry unit, you'll see it also has a lanyard capture here for cavalry or mounted personnel. So that was a kind of a leftover feature that stayed with this particular pistol. It was also one of the first pistols that had a combination safety and decocker. So not only would this put it in the safe mode, But in the event that, sorry, have to take it out of safe mode in order to cock it, it also was one of the first functioning decockers and safeties. So this should remind you of a couple of other pistols that are being used nowadays. As we said before, it's got a typical slide release here. So when you pull it back, push it up with your thumb, it's in the locked position. We'll take the magazine back out. You can see down there, see into the chamber. Pretty typical World War II style sights, meaning overall not the greatest. Got a blade sight on the front. You've got the notched on the back. So a typical, back in those days, sights weren't nearly as advanced as they are now. It is an 8-round magazine, 9mm. In terms of the trigger, it does, in my mind, it shows its age. It has a very, very heavy double action pull. It was pretty gritty when I first got it. It did come packed in Cosmoline, so it did take quite a bit of cleanup to get it working. And over time, as I've shot it and lubricated it, it has seemed to loosen up quite a bit. Sorry, I have the safety on. But it is a pretty stout double action pull. The single action, on the other hand, is a fairly nice single action pull. Fairly short reset, a nice trigger pull there. It also has one of its other features, and we'll go ahead and cock it here. If you see this little rod right here, that's a loaded chamber indicator. So it literally just runs through the slide, and if you've got a round in the chamber, that will pop out and show you that it is loaded. So again, some of the things that you see in more modern designs, that was actually done back in 1938. So we talked about how this pistol had a number of innovations for its time and how they've carried on to other pistols over the years, and here we've got an example of exactly that. This is the Beretta FS92, or the M9 is the military designation. And if you look, you've got a safety decocker on the slide, a slide-mounted safety decocker. Same thing here. You also have the open slide design on both of these pistols. They both also have a falling block lockup design. We'll show you that once we take the P38 down. And then if you look at the other side of the pistol, you'll notice that both of them have an external trigger bar on both of the pistols. So again, a lot of the designs back in 1938 carried forward to this pistol that was became the military sidearm for the U.S. in 1984 and is still in use to this day. So the takedown of the P38 is very straightforward. You're going to recognize this. It's not unlike most modern pistols. First thing you do is take the magazine out. Then all you have to do is take this takedown lever right here towards the front and rotate it all the way to the very front like that, and you could feel the slide just let go. Comes off. Now your frame's separate. And then your locking block and barrel just slide right out the front. So this is your falling block, and you'll see that it falls to lock in place, comes back up. This can also come out, so you can take all of this apart, and there you are field stripped. It's just that simple. When you take a look at the components, again, the falling block design that we described before, this ought to look really familiar to you if you happen to own a Beretta FS92. It's the same type of, while it's designed differently, it's the same concept. Locking block falls, locks it into place, releases. Fairly straightforward. 9mm, fairly straightforward slide design, as you can see here. It does have a firing pin block here towards the back. And again, when you take a look at the machining, you can see it's relatively rough. And again, that's an indication of the times it was built in. Again, this was 1944 when the war was at its height. They were doing as much as they could, as fast as they could to get these things into the theater. So they, I wouldn't say they took shortcuts, but they didn't worry about putting them up at all. One of the other things that's pretty unique about this design is it has a dual recoil spring setup on it. So they're lighter springs, which makes them smaller. They take up less space, but now you put one on either side in order to be able to get enough return spring action to be able to make the pistol work. Otherwise, a fairly straightforward lower. You can obviously, I should say frame. You can also take, with one screw here, you can take the grips off to really get in there and clean it up. And reassembly is about as simple as it was to take it apart. Take the barrel, you do have to lift the falling blocks. You can open the channel there and slide it back into the frame. Once you have it in there, you have to push that back down or it won't clear the frame as it goes back in. But now it's pretty simple. Full-length rails, slider back on, lock it back, and now just take the takedown lever, put it back into position, let the slide lock go, take the safety off and do your function check. Double action, single action. We're back in business. One of the things I did forget to mention earlier is this was also re-blued by the rearmor. And the way that you can tell that, one, the bluing's in perfect condition, which I doubt it would be, but it does have F for fire, and you can see S for safety. If this were an original pistol, hadn't been re-blued, the S would be in white and the F would be in red. So that would be one way that you could tell that it was an original pistol rather than a re-armored pistol. You'd have to do a lot more checking than that to make sure, of course, but that would be one of the things that you could take a look at. The CNR license allows you to purchase curios and relics, and this qualifies. It's over 50 years old. Therefore, it can be delivered directly to your house. You wouldn't have to go through an FFL like me in order to receive a pistol like this. So let's take it out to the range, show you how it shoots, and then we'll come back and wrap this up.
All right.
Well, no, I mean, this is just for their.
That's not bad. No.
That's it. The Walther P38. If you want to own a little history, not spend a ton of money on it, these run right now about $450. I have noticed with the increase of all firearms at this point in time, they go for as much as $600, maybe $650. But if you want some affordable history, this is a fun way to do it. Again, this was actually issued during World War II. Now, you'd love to think that, this was taken off the body of a dead German soldier in Berlin by the Russians before they took it back to their armory. Maybe it was, but you know what? It's just as likely that it was sitting in the desk drawer of some adjutant to a general somewhere, a secretary, if you will, and never fired a shot in anger. So we'll never know, but it is nice to know that it was issued in World War II. So it was actually a wartime pistol, but you can get it affordably and you're not afraid to shoot it because it's not a collectible. So you can shoot a little history, do it for not a lot of money, and have a lot of fun. Thanks for stopping by and checking this pistol out with us. Crucible Arms signing off. Have a good day.